So in 2021, the research found that $13 billion was, poured into the digital ad market to kind of support this content consumption. So what we are seeing here is there is clearly a rise in the consumption of digital by consumers, and there is a reallocation of budgets on behalf of the marketeers from traditional to digital and particularly social media. And this trend is going to continue on. So this is one of the key points. So reallocation of ad. But there are a few other changes that have come in. I'm sure you must have noted those as well. One of those is consistent omni-channel experiences. So when we talk about omni-channel experiences, we are saying how easy it is to flow or, switch between the channels, which means that, for example, if I'm buying something online, can I go to the store and return it? So most of the brands are trying to make that experience very smooth by facilitating consumers to buy online and return it in the offline stores. Then you also have automated workflows. That means the firms are reaching out to you at very consistent frequency with emails, with flyers, with promotions, communications in general. And all these, how is that being done? It's not that somebody is manually sitting there and contacting millions of consumers. All these functions, emails, flyers, promotions, communications are all built into automated workflows through systems like customer relationship management systems, CRM systems, content management systems on social media, through websites like WordPress, etc. So we'll talk about these more in our classes further down the line. One of the most important factors is brand visibility. So the marketing of products has changed in terms of brand visibility. So my question to you is, what do you think as far as brand visibility is concerned? What has changed about brand visibility? A lot of brands are resorting to the use of digital personas in communicating with their customers. So for example, my favorite example here usually is, which all students can relate to, is comparethemarket.com.au. Now, this is a website which has become really popular, especially during COVID, and remains so, because they talk to the consumer using their character called the meerkat. And so that is a digital persona which most of the consumers are able to relate to because it conveys complicated finance, insurance related information to the consumers in a very simple fashion. So more use of brand personas. The firms are trying to, yes, there is this challenge of brand clutter that we are facing now in the digital media. And so more and more brands are fighting to be seen. So that has become a challenge for brand visibility. If you think back to the times where traditional marketing was more, predominant, which were the brands which were easily visible? They were the brands which spent maximum on advertising. That's why Super Bowl was very famous. All of the brands would suddenly come down to Super Bowl and put their ads. And Super Bowl ad budgets are extremely expensive. So these were only the national brands, big brands that could afford to do it. And they were always visible. Now, the digital has given that unique opportunity to even the smaller brands, to entrepreneurial startups, to be able to reach out to the consumers through search engine optimization, search engine marketing, such as paid search, advertising. So now suddenly these little brands are competing with the big brands in the digital space. So there is a lot of overload, there is a lot of brand clutter. What are the brands doing to fight this clutter? Use digital personas, use corporate social responsibility, for example, like Patagonia. Patagonia, we're going to actually discuss in more details in future lectures because that's a great example of CSR and how they're taking. Brand visibility has clearly become a challenge in the digital space, and brands are struggling to become visible in all that clutter. We are using strategies like digital persona and CSR. All of the brands are selling you their products through different channels. For example, I'm selling, let's say Revlon is selling products through David Jones, through Myers. They're selling products online on their websites. There are influencers who are also selling Revlon products by advertising them, right? So these are three different channels. One is the store channel, one is the online channel, and one is the affiliate or what you call as the influencer channel. So I'm just giving a very simple example. These are three channels. Now, when we say omni-channel experience, we are trying to question how well are these three channels connected to one another. What does that mean? It means that if I buy a Revlon product online and I'm not happy with it, can I go to the store and exchange that product? If I cannot, then it's not a smooth experience. I'm not a happy customer. So when we are talking about omni-channel experiences, what we are trying to say is that are all the channels connected in a way that if the consumer shops in one channel, she can still go to another channel for the same product and, solve her problem. So that is an omni-channel experience. So moving on, we come to, after brand visibility, we come to impact measurement. So this is also, one of the major changes that has happened. What do you think is impact measurement? How would you measure the impact of how well the brand is doing? If we talk about impact measurement, it essentially measures how well your brand is doing, whether in the offline or online digital space. Now, I'll give you a very simple example. A lot of consumers' attention, especially the millennials, they have moved on from traditional channel like broadcast, television, etc., to social media space. So earlier, when the brands would advertise, it was easier for them to measure the impact of an ad using the number of eyeballs as one of the metrics. So that means the number of people who saw the ad. On social media, it's become very difficult to measure the impact because even if you are seeing the ad, you might not be paying attention to the ad. So for example, you are on YouTube. How many of you do this? When you see an ad, you click on skip the ad. Measuring the impact that a brand has in the digital channels has become very challenging. I've said, so that brings into question, how do we measure brand loyalty? So if there are, 1 million people watching the brand ad, but only 100 are buying, what can we say about brand loyalty, right? Yes, ads are annoying, but for the brands, it's an important, tactical tool, because that is what gets consumers to become aware of the brand. So impact measurement has become one of the challenges. And so marketers are now resorting to social media metrics, engagement metrics, like how many consumers like an ad, how many consumers share an ad, how many consumers, comment on Facebook, YouTube ads, etc. So we are seeing a whole shift in the metrics that are now being used to measure the impact of a brand, how successful the brand is. Okay. All right. So moving forward, what does that, what does that mean for you? Okay, so a lot of you are interested in making careers in digital marketing. So with all these changes happening, so, typical ad budgets moving from traditional to digital ad space, more, branding activity, more promotional activity happening in the digital space, what does that mean for you? It means simply that there are more career choices for digital marketing. So what can you do if you want to make a career in digital marketing? What are the options that you have? So you could, these are some of the broad categories of options that I have listed over here, but that list is growing by the day. And if you look up Seek and Indeed and other websites, you will come to know how, how many different types of jobs in digital marketing are showing up. So one is social media strategists, that is to build online communities, develop strategies to reach target users on platforms, social media platforms. Associated with this, I will also tell you that every semester, I have recruiters contacting me to advertise to students for internships. And a lot of those internships are actually based around content creation. So content, because everything is on social media, you know that content is the king. So we need people who can make very interesting and creative content. So that is one associated field over here. Digital marketing engineers. So this is more around technology. If you're a technology savvy person, you love to, learn these different tools, then this is the type of area that you should be going. So familiarizing yourselves with, say, Google Analytics, paid search advertising, Facebook Analytics, CRM systems, and content management systems like WordPress, that is going to take you places as far as digital marketing engineering is concerned. And I am sure that in this pool of students, we would have a lot of students who are interested in gaming. So that is also becoming a very, very popular option. So a lot more of ads are showing up in this particular area. In fact, when I attended this Media Federation of Australia conference, there was clearly this call for more and more people working in this area, because currently there's a shortage of people who can create ads for use on computers and video games. All right, so let's move on. So in terms of digital marketing content, you will see that there is more greater activity around content marketing, search engine optimization, search engine marketing, social media marketing, affiliate influencer marketing. So these are some of the topics that we have already discussed. Okay, so what does this mean for you? More variety of jobs. So having discussed this, so this is the digital world for you now. It's a mixed bag of goodies like digital literacy, technical skills, and as well as awareness of cybersecurity. So with that, we have covered most of what we call as digital marketing when marketers are trying to reach to you via digital technology. And we cannot overemphasize the importance of digital marketing. We have been chatting about this all through these different slides. Now, digital media. So here, just a little definition I want to touch upon is when you talk about digital marketing, it is marketing using digital media. What is media? Digital media, it consists of three aspects: digital platforms, that is, websites and applications; content, so textual, audio, video on social media; and services. So all the products and services that are coming out, for example, information, entertainment, communication online, all that comes under digital media. Related to this concept is a very important concept of what we call as digital identities, which are sort of digital personas, which we have discussed. The key point here is that people's behaviors, they change across different social media. So you have to be, although nowadays I've heard that in the interviews or post interviews, some companies even ask for your Facebook links to check out how you are in personal life. So yes, so we are portraying digital identities which reflect different behavioral patterns in different contexts. And that's what brings, makes digital personas very